Good afternoon. A warm welcome from me. I'm Ollie Bradley. Thank you for joining my session with this curious topic of perfecting glanced readability for digital shelf. To everyone who's wondering what on earth is glance readability, why does it matter, what difference does it make, and how does this relate to a series of talks about AI tools? Well, you have to reassure you it's okay. You're in the right place. You've joined the right seminar. In fact, I'm delighted you did. Thank you for both your time and attention, because in these days, these are hugely rare and valuable things. Thank you for Doug Stratton and the team at Bazaarvoice for inviting me. And I really hope that I don't disappoint you. I've been really cheeky, so I've actually retitled my talk. I thought a better title was Looks Fine to Me, Kills Your Mobile Conversion. And I did that because it relates to something I posted on LinkedIn called Looks Fine to Me. And I felt this was the attitude from brand teams and designers that will literally kill your conversion on mobile. And I want to talk about the ugly truth. So the ugly truth is that, and I can say I've lived this firsthand. A little over a year ago, I headed up content for commerce and Unilever's Global Digital Commerce Center of Excellence. That's a bit of a mouthful. I'm now at Neem, which is a technology startup. And back when I was at Unilever, and I've been in e-commerce for 18 years, I was producing content for commerce across 14 markets with publicists and doing it at scale and speed. And the unvarnished truth is content for commerce has always been created on giant Mac 27-inch screens, and it's always been improved on 14-inch Hewlett-Packard usually, or Dell corporate laptop screens. And that's where we do content, workflow, creation, and approval. And I'll put this to you, we can't change this. If I arrived here today and told you we need to move approval to do it on mobile, I would say that's a fool's errand. It's not going to work. So allow me to briefly explain why this is a real showstopper. So 78% of US e-commerce traffic is now on mobile. Now, in China, that's 95%. In South Korea, it's 95%. In the UK, it's 80%. But let's not argue about the numbers. It is the majority of traffic is mobile first. So we're heading to become even more dependent on the shop in our pocket, as this number has steadily increased every year since I created Mobile Ready Here Images back in 2013 with Cambridge University. You may have heard of me through LinkedIn on that, and I tend to talk a lot about Mobile Ready Here Images. Apologize for that on LinkedIn. So here's a cheeky question. Look at the right-hand side. What dove are we looking at on this slide? Is it face wash? Is it hand wash? Is it moisturizer? And for that matter, can any of you beyond brand tell me the size, the variant, the ingredient? Actually, can you read anything other than the brand name? I doubt it. So it doesn't really matter how good your eyes are. This hero image is horrendously unreadable. Now, for those who've been wondering, it's the new Dove Serum Body Wash, super premium launch. And the reality is that less than 10% of hero images are glance readable. That's a DCG stat. DCG using Rhino tested 5,000 images on Walmart, Target, and Amazon, and they can tell you in the US that is true. The problem is not just hero images. The problem is supplementary images. Unfortunately, here's a supplementary image or secondary storytelling image, sadly also from Dove Body Wash. Can you tell what the text says after one use? I can't. It's just completely missable, illegible content. Now, some of you will say we don't need a tech tool to tell us that that's illegible. I would argue you do, because how on earth did this get through approval without anybody flagging it? But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Just one more example, and retail media is obviously got everybody's attention and budget for the last 5 years. Let me ask you a question about the little Google Home speaker. What was the price the smart speaker was reduced from? Can you read that? It's hard to read, isn't it? What is the company in the top banner? It's where it says, let's start investing together. Can you read that? That's my point. Nobody is testing for glance readability. They're just eyeballing it. So why does this matter? Well, we're approaching what I call a perfect storm that will affect conversion from visual content in almost all markets. The perfect storm has 3 parts. The first part is eyesight is getting worse globally. That's a fact. I challenge you to chat GPT this, Perplexity this, Gemini it, whichever you want to use, Grok it. You should ask your LLM of choice, is eyesight getting worse globally? The answer is an unequivocal yes, and there are kind of two things driving that. One is we're seeing a crisis of myopia from screen time, particularly in Asian school children. And secondly, we're seeing a crisis in adult eyesight because we have an aging population in the US and the UK and Europe. In the developed world, we are looking at older shoppers. The second area is online shopping has shifted to the small 6-inch mobile screen. And the third area, which I'll look at, is there's been a visual content explosion powered by generative AI. Let's dive into each quickly. So the first one, in terms of our eyesight getting worse, I mentioned that aging populations mean more shoppers with poorer eyesight. Let me just expand on that. So this curve is getting a little bit of middle-age spread. It's getting a bulge around the waist. The majority of shoppers are now sitting over 40. So in the US, the average shopper age is 39 and a half this year. It'll move to 40 next year, and they'll keep moving up. In the UK this year, it is 42. Across Europe, it is over 40. So you might think, well, so what, Ollie? Well, the so what slide is a slide from Cambridge. So over 40 years basically means that you have poorer eyesight. Basically, this talks about ocular accommodation. You're probably thinking, what the heck is ocular accommodation? So in your eye, you have a lens, and the ability of the lens in your eye to expand and contract. So if you want to look at something close, it contracts, and you want to look at something far away, it obviously pulls it tight. The lens in your eye becomes less flexible, and the muscles in your eye are less stronger as you get older. And that's a problem because effectively you become short-sighted or long-sighted, and generally over 40, you need glasses. So what, Ollie? We got glasses. So what is people multi-screen? And when they sit in front of their big TV in the evenings, generally they make sure that their TV is in focus and their smartphone isn't in focus. So you go figure how bad the shopping experience is, because they're not looking through their glasses, and very few people bother to buy varifocals or wear them while they're watching TV. That's a fact. So you need to cater for people with less than great eyesight in terms of the way you create content. You are not creating content for people with perfect eyesight. We need to design for the real world, not the world we wish it was. The third area, or the second area I wanted to talk about, is online shopping has moved to the tiny smartphone screen. More than 3/4 of retail traffic, as I mentioned, is now on mobile. Yet the vast majority of product images were originally designed for big desktop screens or physical pack context. Now, as you can see here, this talks about mobile as the Swiss Army knife of connectivity. Desktop has continued to decline every year. So every year we look at Black Friday, Cyber November, and every year we look at, and mobile's gone up a notch and desktop's gone down a notch. But I would put to you, we haven't made the adjustments necessary because nobody is designing for mobile properly, because DCG is telling you that 90% of people are not creating primary images that are legible on mobile. The third area, and this is an area which we've all experienced, I don't know about you, but certainly scrolling through LinkedIn, you just get bombarded with AI created pictures. Some of them are really bad. Some of them are really funny. But even looking in a shopping context, if you're on Lazada, or if you're on one of the Chinese retailers, there's a content explosion powered by generative AI, because it's made it trivially cheap to create endless content variations. I'll say this: quantity without quality control is a liability. So without systemic ways to assess visual quality, brand teams risk flooding retailers with on-screen noise. Now, the biggest kind of giveaway is what I call the AI sheen. There is a retailer with a similar sounding name. AI models default lighting that is to perfectly even, which is not real life. My face is not lit on both sides perfectly even. You can tell from the imperfections and the reality of my skin. I do not look like an AI model like the one in the top right corner. The model's eyes look off, and in reality, the teeth in this example look plastic. It just looks ridiculous. And what is 9D white anyway? It's just stupid. So that's a challenge as well. I can't solve all the challenges, but I'm going to give you a simple ABC framework to help. I'm obviously classically trained by Unilever School of Marketing. I worked at Unilever for 30 years before I joined Neem, and I wanted to share a simple ABC framework with you today. The first is A for attention and win the glance, and I'm using Dragonfly AI as the example. It could be another AI company like Visit or any of the others, but I'm going to pick Dragonfly because I like them and I kind of agree with their thinking. So this is about winning the biological battle in under a second. So they talk about on average it takes 0.4 of a second for a brain to react to an image. It's all about getting noticed. Now, I want you to look at the left-hand image for Pétale Noir and the right-hand image for Pétale Noir. Initially, you might think the left-hand image is better, but your eye doesn't know what to look at because there are too many hotspots. There's 8 hotspots. There's too many petals. The branding is too small. And in reality, it's not a good image. And the clarity in terms of the single-mindedness is really bad. The right-hand image is better because there are less petals. There's less visual noise. There's only 4 hotspots that your eye is likely to focus on. It is an image that will convert better. Many of you are using Visit AI, Dragonfly AI, Memorable IO, any of these companies. That's great. Fantastic. Great tool you should be. I will now want to move on and talk about another AI tool, which is CreativeX, which looks at, is there a logo, but actually branding is more than, is there a logo? Once you've earned attention, the next job is that you need to work out whether the content is recognizably yours at a glance. It's not about does a logo appear in the corner, it's the full set of distinctive brand assets. So it's not enough to be the beer with a red star, because there are 3 beers with a red star. Heineken, written in green with its very distinctive typeface next to the red star, is what will get instant brand recognition. A single floating red star looks like a bit of cheap clip art. It's not a brand mark. It's just a red star. And that's why CreativeX is so powerful, and many of you will be using CreativeX. But I would say to you, there is a missing piece, which is glance readability of critical messages that you want read on images. And you might be saying to me, our critical messages are in the text. And I would say to you, people do not read the text. So communication is the missing link that Rhino was built to solve, to go past attention and branding, because they are necessary, but they're not sufficient. There's a third step, communication, and even another step, which I'll talk about and how it links to Bazaarvoice, which is credibility. But communication is the glance readability of the critical text on the image. This is where Rhino is different and complementary to both CreativeX for branding and Dragonfly or Visit or Tobii eye tracking for attention. And Rhino measures something new, and it's where the critical on-image text will actually be legible on real mobile screens, and Rhino is able to do it at scale. So let me just show you an example. So the AI inside Rhino can, through text recognition, can read out non-bio capsules, Persil 15 wash, and it'll give you the results for contrast in a column and clarity and in terms of text size and another column. And very quickly, you can see all of the 4 key elements of brand, format, variant, and size pass. I want to touch on the second C, which links to why I'm here today and speaking at a Bazaarvoice conference, is credibility. So credibility is about user-generated content, of which there is a huge amount now. And it's not just ratings or reviews, it's photos and videos. In fact, on this Persil capsule example, there are 3,755 ratings or reviews. Now, that is too much for you to look through. Even if you just look through the negative reviews, you'd be done. You'd be there forever. The joy is Bazaarvoice can filter those for you by what matters to you, similar to what Rufus does. And you could look at value for money, cleans well, quality, smell, whatever the topic is that's important to you. AI can read all the reviews for you and surface the reviews that matter. I'm going to move on and just double click into glance readability, because one of you probably thinking, what is the glance readability problem? And this is a brilliant example. So a shopper has taken out a Sharpie pen and written shampoo and conditioner on Monday because they literally can't read which is which. And online, on Target, on the mobile, I've actually blanked out the titles to make it really difficult for you, because in reality, shoppers do not read product titles. And I would put to you, you cannot tell that top image on the mobile phone whether it is shampoo and conditioner. So with that, I'd like to move now to a short 1-minute video. So I've got another 6 minutes to wrap up, and I want to show you another quick demo in terms of what factors influence the legibility of text. So Cambridge University has created a neat little demo to illustrate the validity of their clarity test and the importance of text size stroke width for glance readability. So let me just show this to you quickly. There's two axes. On the y-axis, you have text contrast. On the x-axis, you have text size. It's actually more than a two-dimensional model. You will also notice you have stroke width in terms of the boldness of the typeface as well. There is a pink curve. Above the pink curve, you will be like me, because I'm over 40. I'm well over 40. I'm over 50 even. So struggling to read what's above the pink curve. Some of you, I envy you, will be able to read a few words above the pink curve. Most of us won't. And most of you will be able to read easily what's underneath the pink curve. Great, that's excellent. Now, we are currently looking at the typeface called Open Sans Bold. Let's move forward and look at Open Sans Regular, and the curve moved in. So I'll just toggle that, the curve moved inwards. And then if we go from regular typeface to light, the curve moves in again, and we go from light to caps. Oh my goodness, caps is a nightmare. Caps is 20% slower. It takes up more space. And because caps takes up more space, it has to be made a smaller size in the same available space. I must admit, the war on caps for me started when I was at Unilever, and it continues now that I kind of run a boutique design studio at Nîmes. People think caps is amazing. It is not. It is very difficult to read. People read word by word, and it actually takes up more space, so it's much harder to read. You have to do one thing to make your text more legible: get rid of caps. There's a hot tip from me. Now, the constraints that we face, and I've kind of got 4 minutes left now, is the readability on mobile starts with the constraints of the shopper experience, because screens are really small. Most of us don't have Pro or Max phones. We have the iPhone SE if we work for a big corporate, and it's a remarkably small screen, under 400 pixels wide. And within that, you have this tiny 90 pixel space. So basically, this is all that you've got to design for. And because of this, conversion on mobile is much, much poorer. And as a result, we need to design for stuff to be glance readable on mobile at 20 millimeters on Amazon, at 16 millimeters on omni-channel retailer. Why fix glance readability? Well, basically because it works. I did this when I was at Unilever. I simplified from 14 messages on Magnum to just 4, and the results were spectacular. So we did A/B testing with Ocean Drive, and it worked fantastically well. And I'll say this, how do people try and fix it now? The reality is everybody's still eyeballing it. They say to themselves, if I can read it, that must be fine. But this is so ridiculously subjective. Let's stop and think about this for a second. It literally depends on how good the eyes are of both the person designing it and the person approving it. It depends on the screen size it's approved on and created on. And at no point does it take into account the target shopper's eyes or device. So this is where Rhino comes in. So how does Rhino fix the problem? Rhino by Nîmes isn't another checker. It's an independent quality assurance layer between design and go live. No opinions, no look fine to me, just pass or fail against real glance readability thresholds verified by Cambridge University. Both tests, contrast and clarity, get done in seconds, and manual testing and honesty takes hours in comparison. Embarrassingly for Unilever, since I've left, you can see their new mobile ready here images of their new flavors they launched this year. They don't pass Rhino. So in conclusion, looks fine to me, and this is my message to the Magnum ice cream company now they've left Unilever. And my conclusion to everybody is, do not trust your eyes. Looks fine to me will kill your mobile conversion. And to bring it all together, I'll conclude with this. If you're looking for an edge in digital commerce, aside from optimizing for agentic AI, optimizing for attention and branding, consider optimizing for glance readability. Optimize your content for where shoppers are already. They're on their phones. Thank you very much.